welcome back to my channel, and today we are talking Disney resorts. One of the questions I get asked most often is things like, should I upgrade from a value to a moderate resort, and is it worth the extra money to stay at this resort? All kinds of things like that. So I thought we would do a video comparing value, moderate and deluxe Disney resorts. So I'm basically going to talk you through the differences between all of them, what things are the same, what things are better or worse or different, and whether or not it's worth the money is really a very difficult question to answer, so we'll come on to that at the end. So first up, the three different types of Disney resorts are value, moderate and deluxe. So there are several resorts within each of those categories, and it really speaks for itself that value is the cheapest, moderate is kind of mid-range, and deluxe are the most expensive. So first up, I'm just going to let you know the things that you get at any Disney resort. So whether you're at the value, moderate or deluxe, everybody will get these particular things included. So first of all, anybody who's staying at a Disney resort can pre-book fast passes at 60 days. You don't get a bigger window if you're staying at deluxe or anything like that. All of the resorts have the same 60-day window, and all resorts will have transportation to the parks. We'll come on to that a little bit more in a bit, but there will be some transportation to get you to the parks, whichever resort you're at. You can also take advantage of the Magical Express, which will bring you from Orlando International Airport to Disney World and back to the airport again at the end of your trip, so that's included at all of them. If you are planning on doing a split stay, so you're staying at one resort for part of the time and another resort for the rest, then baggage transfer is included at all hotels. So whichever one you're at, they will move your bags for you between hotels. Each of the Disney resorts have a store of some sort. Some of them are bigger than others, but there will be a shop at all of the resorts. Whichever Disney hotel you're staying at, you can also take advantage of extra magic hours. Each day, one of the resorts opens either early or later to resort guests only, and it doesn't matter which resort you're staying at, you can take advantage of those. All of the rooms have Wi-Fi access. It does vary as to how good it is, but you can pick up Wi-Fi for free in all of the resorts, and also all resort rooms have a refrigerator. So those are the kind of things that are the same across the board, whichever resort you are at. So let's start by talking about the differences between the rooms. So obviously in a value resort, compared to, say, the most expensive deluxe resort, it will seem more luxurious. The bedding and chairs or sofas or whatever is in the room and the decor will be nicer at a deluxe than it will be at one of the value resorts. But to be honest with you, the value resorts are all getting an overhaul and the rooms are very nice there. They're comfortable. I have never stayed in a Disney room that I haven't found comfortable. Even some of the kind of older rooms that really are in need of a refurbishment, I still find them clean and comfortable. For the most part, if you're staying in a value or a moderate resort, the rooms open to outside corridors. In a deluxe resort, generally it will be indoors. That's not the same for every situation. I think Art of Animation, the family suites, you will open your door to an inside corridor, but for the most part, that will be the case. So there aren't balconies, basically. You open your hotel room door and you are in an outdoor walkway if you're at a value or a moderate. And again, for the most part, the deluxe resorts have a balcony, a private balcony in most cases. Sometimes there's an actual screen up, so it is totally enclosed. Other times you would be able to kind of see your neighbours if they were out on their balcony, but most of the deluxe resorts do have somewhere outside for you to sit. If you're on the ground floor, normally it's like a kind of little patio situation, but yeah, you do have somewhere outside that you can go. The next thing, which is definitely something to consider for me, is coffee machines. So not all of the rooms have a coffee maker. I love my coffee, so I do appreciate a coffee maker in the room. The value resorts, for the most part, did not used to have a coffee maker at all. However, in Pop Century, and I believe in the new All-Star rooms, which are going to be the same as the Pop Century refurbished rooms, there is a coffee maker. Currently at Art of Animation, if you are staying in the Little Mermaid room, there is no coffee maker, and I'm not entirely sure about the family suites. Those do have a little kitchen area, so perhaps they do have a coffee maker. If anybody knows, then mention it in the comments. And if you are staying in one of the deluxe villa resorts, those have a small kitchen if you are staying in a studio, or a full kitchen if you are in a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom or grand villa. And in that situation, the studio rooms, you would have a microwave and toaster, and in the bigger 1- and 2-bedroom rooms you would have like a full kitchen, so you would have an oven and cooker and everything as well. And in terms of in-room dining, this kind of segues into the next section, which is food and dining. The value resorts, generally you can get pizza delivery. There will be a kind of menu in the room, and I think you can get pizza and maybe like garlic bread and salad, but not like a full menu. And that's generally the same for the moderate resorts. When you get to the deluxe resorts, there is usually a full room service menu, so there's lots of different options. Some of the resorts, like the Polynesian for example, you can have the food from Ohana sent to your room. Ohana is an extremely popular restaurant at the Polynesian, so it's amazing being able to get that delivered to your room. But the value and moderate resorts, it generally is just pizza delivery. I believe you can use your dining plan for room service, but I think it's 2 credits. And if you do want to have food delivered, you can also use something like Uber Eats. I do have a code actually where you can get some money off your first time using it. We have done that several times, so that is another option as well if you wanted to have food delivered. So in terms of dining, the value resorts will generally have a food court, and the moderate and deluxe hotels have at least 1 table service restaurant, and they have a quick service location. So not necessarily a food court, but they will have somewhere where you can go and pick up counter service type food as well as 1 table service. An exception to that is Port Orleans French Quarter. They don't have a table service restaurant, but there is one over at Port Orleans Riverside. And all of the resorts, whether it's value, moderate or deluxe, will have somewhere that you can fill your refillable mug. That is something that you generally get included on the dining plan, or you can purchase a resort mug and get free refills of tea, coffee and soda throughout your trip, and there will be locations at every hotel where you can do that. And that is for all of the hotels. If you are staying, for example, at All Star Music and you have your mug with you when you go to look around the Contemporary, you would be able to fill your mug there as well. So the next thing to talk about is transportation, and this is really where some of the deluxe resorts come into play as to why they are so much more expensive. So at a value resort, there will always be bus transportation to get you to all 4 parks, to the water parks and to Disney Springs. The value resorts all have 1 main bus stop area. They have individual bus stops for the different parks, but it's all in one place. Some of the deluxe resorts, such as Saratoga Springs, Old Key West, which are deluxe villa resorts, they have multiple bus stops, as do resorts like Caribbean Beach and Coronado Springs. And bear in mind as well, at the All-Star resorts, which is All-Star Music, All-Star Movies and All-Star Sports, they sometimes do share a bus. During peak times when it's busier, I have noticed that sometimes they have their own buses. It does seem to vary based on kind of crowd control and how many people are using them, but just bear in mind you probably will be sharing buses at those resorts. Art of Animation and Pop Century have their own buses. I have heard sometimes people say that All-Star Movies have their own bus. When we stayed at All-Star Music, we did share a bus with All-Star Movies, so I'm not sure what the situation is with that. I know that, like I was saying before, sometimes those resorts do have their own buses, so I think it just varies. At moderate resorts, there will also be bus service available, and in some situations there will be a boat. So Port Orleans Riverside, they have a boat that goes down to Disney Springs. At deluxe resorts, there will always be at least 1 non-bus option to get to at least one of the other parks. The one exception to that is Animal Kingdom Lodge, and that is bus service only. There is no boats or anything else. Of course, the new transportation that is coming into play is the Skyliner gondola system, and the Skyliner will actually be servicing Pop Century and Art of Animation. There will be a Skyliner station, and between the 2 of those resorts there's kind of a lake that goes between the 2, and the station is kind of there. So that will be the first time that the value resorts have an additional method of transportation. I think we will probably see those resorts go up in price as a result of that, because value resorts, that's always been a thing that really is only bus transportation. I believe those resorts will still stay in the value category, but obviously it would be preferable to stay there because you will also have that option as well as using buses. The Skyliner won't take you all over Walt Disney World property. You'll be able to get to Hollywood Studios and Epcot using the Skyliner system, and if you want to get to Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom, you will use the buses. And in the case of other deluxe resorts, you obviously have the Magic Kingdom monorail loop, where you have Grand Floridian, the Contemporary and the Polynesian, which are all on the monorail loop, so you can just get a monorail rather than a bus to the Magic Kingdom. And over near Epcot you have the Yacht Club, the Beach Club and Boardwalk, which is within walking distance of Epcot. And there is also a boat service that will take you around to Hollywood Studios as well from those parks, as well as across to Epcot. So basically, if you're staying at a deluxe resort, you do have other transportation options than just buses. And again, like we were saying, there are some other transportation options coming into play, so it'll be interesting to see down the line how that changes. But I think the gondola system is going to be necessary with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opening and the crowds that will come along with that. I think they just needed something else, because otherwise the buses will get totally overwhelmed. And I haven't covered every single way that you can get to every single park from every single resort, because that would take quite a long time, but that's just generally to give you an idea of what the options are and justification really of why some of the deluxe resorts are more expensive, because you do get different transportation options. So moving on to kind of recreation and activities, all of the resorts do have pools, and generally at the value resorts, I think in all of them there is more than one pool. Some of them are known as smaller or quiet pools, and then you kind of have one big feature pool. The value resorts do not have water slides at their pools. All of them seem to have some entertainment going on. They do have cast members there who start up some games for children and things like that, and that seems to happen at all levels of the resorts, the value, moderate and deluxe. Often at the deluxe resorts there are a lot of activities that go on. I've seen when you are staying at Animal Kingdom, there are various different little craft workshops and things. Sometimes there are free tours that you can take part in that take you around the very impressive lobbies to talk about that and just different things to take in. Animal Kingdom Lodge, I think there are kind of animal based tours that you can do, so there are a lot of activities going on. At some of the villa resorts, which are the DVC resorts, they have like a little community centre where you can borrow DVDs, because those rooms do have DVD players, and often there are activities going on there as well. But whenever you check into your resort, whether it's a value, moderate or deluxe, if there is anything going on, you can ask the cast member who's checking you in and they will be able to give you that information. At the deluxe resorts you will find things like a gym, and they have valet parking for the most part, and also childcare services available. So generally they just have a lot more services and activities and things like that going on, hence why those resorts are more expensive. And as well as the practical things we've just gone through, generally as you go through the resorts from value to deluxe, just how nice the general aesthetic of the hotel is makes a big difference. So for example, if you have been to Animal Kingdom Lodge or Wilderness Lodge to look around, and you definitely can go to all of the Disney resorts to take a look around, you don't have to be staying there. As you walk in, the lobbies are so impressive, everything is so beautiful, there's so much to see, and it's just a really relaxing place to be. So at the All-Star resorts, all the theming is kind of giant, bright, bold colours everywhere, and at the deluxe resorts, some of them are less kind of loud in your face and more relaxing. But I love looking around the value resorts. There's some great photo opportunities as you go around, and the theming is really great, especially for children. Children absolutely love the value resorts, and at Art of Animation they have the family suites. That's another thing, there are certain resorts where you can fit more people into one room. So Art of Animation, as I was just saying, you do have the suites where you can fit more people in. I forget how many, I will put it on the screen. And over at Port Orleans Riverside and Caribbean Beach, they do have rooms that can accommodate families of up to 5. Also, just talking about the moderate resorts, you start to get into themed rooms. So they do have the royal rooms over at Port Orleans, which are really, really beautiful. Then you have the pirate themed rooms over at Caribbean Beach. Again, with Art of Animation, they have different sections for the family suites. So you have Nemo, there is Cars, and there's also Lion King. And so those family suites are themed to that particular movie in that section. So if you're looking for really great Disney character theming, Art of Animation is a great one to go for. And in terms of cost, it really varies wildly depending what time of year it is. Generally with the all-star rooms, so the value resorts, you can get rooms for maybe $100 a night, something like that. Sometimes it's more, depending on how busy they are and what season you are going. Then going up to the deluxe resorts, the price can kind of vary wildly depending on what type of room that you have. And generally I find that Disney's Animal Kingdom and Wilderness Lodge are the cheaper of the deluxe resorts. I say cheaper, they are still not cheap, but they tend to be less than something like Grand Floridian, Polynesian, or the Contemporary and Beach Club, Yacht Club, places like that. Art of Animation is generally the most expensive of the value resorts, followed by Pop Century and then the All-Stars. The moderate resorts, I've seen different ones being more expensive at different times, so I guess it depends on on availability. And just to mention, the cabins at Fort Wilderness are actually considered a moderate resort. They are a lot more expensive because it's a full cabin that sleeps several people, but that is actually considered a moderate resort. And in terms of parking, you can park your car at any of the resorts that you're staying at. Just bear in mind that you now have to pay for parking, and the price does get more depending which resort you're at. So the value is cheaper than the moderate, and then obviously it is even more if you're staying at a deluxe, and the price for parking is per night, so that can get quite expensive. So just bear that in mind if you are deciding whether or not to rent a car. So I hope this video was helpful to give you guys a basic overview of what the differences are between value, moderate and deluxe resorts. There are definitely things that I haven't covered. I just wanted to give you an idea because I get tons of questions about it. And in terms of whether or not it's worth the extra money, that really is up to you and what you're looking for from your vacation. I would say if you're planning on not spending a lot of time in the room, then you really have to decide whether or not it's worth the extra money, because if you're only going to be sleeping there, then it probably isn't worth spending an awful lot more, and the value resorts would probably be absolutely fine for what you're looking for. But if you like to relax at your resort, then perhaps it is worth it. It really just depends what price you're looking at, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what is different at the 3 different levels of resorts. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I will leave the links below to all my social media and also to my Patreon and everything. And be sure to subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on any upcoming videos and vlogs. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.